I am from Link3D, but during my free time, I volunteer for Women in 3D Printing as a board director, leading the marketing initiatives, and also for Next Generation. So hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Feel free to put your comments in the general chat. Super excited to have you here. So today, how it's going to work out, actually, is we're actually going to have a few of us take turns individually to introduce themselves from the different chapters. So Lindsey, Melanie, if you can just hide yourself for a second, that would be great. and then afterwards, they will all have 5 minutes to share a little bit about themselves and a little bit about their communities within 5 minutes. So if they can't make it within 5 minutes, they will be lightninged out according to our lightning round rules. So last but not least, I'm excited to introduce you Natasha. Natasha Walstra, who is from Carbon, leading the Women in 3D Printing South Bay chapter. Feel free to turn on your camera and mic, Natasha. Awesome. The floor is yours and the countdown starts now.
Awesome. Thank you, Janet. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Natasha Walstra. I'm the co-ambassador for the South Bay Area chapter, along with Will Chris here in California. There's also a San Francisco chapter with Nadia as the ambassador, but she's not able to make it today, but it is active. As a new member, I actually just joined in the beginning of 2020. I figured today I'd give a brief intro as to who I am, what I do, and how I got here, as it's a little unconventional. If you can imagine, I actually hadn't even heard the term additive manufacturing until 3 years ago. So I'm originally from the Bay Area, born and raised. I went to Cal Poly, where I studied anthropology, geography, and French, although I don't speak French anymore. But after graduating, I moved to Argentina with the intention of staying only a few months. Fast forward 6 years, I showed up back in the Bay Area, a little confused and a lot of reverse culture shock. I ended up working several jobs until I came across an opportunity on LinkedIn for Carbon. As I mentioned, I knew little to nothing about 3D printing, although I had seen an FDM printer in action once before, but to be fair, I had no idea what I was looking at. The second I stepped on site at Carbon, I couldn't help but think, wow, this is the future and I have to work here. I currently lead the inside sales team working under marketing, and although I speak with folks from all industries, from consumer to medical or industrial, my main focus is actually in the dental space, another area which I actually knew nothing about. I still remember my first real day working with their team. It was actually at a trade show called LMT Lab Day in Chicago in February. It was intimidating not only because the polar vortex had just passed through and I didn't even own a winter coat, but I also had no idea what to expect from the largest dental trade show in North America. I have to say I was not disappointed. The dental industry is an extremely unique industry. To be honest, I kind of thought everything was just done at the dentist's office, but turns out there's an entire world behind these scenes. Dental technicians have done an incredible job at adopting digital technologies. Just look at the equipment used from casting, milling, CAD/CAM, and 3D printing, of course. All this plus material advancements allow for a more productive and efficient lab. To give an example, 2 years ago, the first premium denture material was released that has a higher impact strength than standard material used and significantly better than previous 3D printed options. This allowed labs to create a high quality, better fitting denture and produce at nearly half the cost and half the labor. A few months ago, I was speaking with this really incredible woman, Dr. Lori Trost. She's a key opinion leader with over 30 years in the dental industry. She was telling me about how she absolutely hated dentures, despised them really. However, a week after she bought her scanner and 3 days after the COVID shutdown occurred, her first emergency patient came in with a broken denture, desperate for help. Dr. Trost called her lab. They told her all she had to do is scan the broken denture. Actually, she had to super glue it first and then hit send. 3 days later, she received a beautiful denture with unbelievable accuracy, as she said, and never saw the patient again, which in this case is actually a really good case. She did call back 3 months later to see how she was doing, and the patient said this was the best fitting denture she'd ever had. These types of stories are really what inspire me, and I hear them nearly every day. The best part about all this is that we only just dipped our toes in the water. As technologies and materials advance, more and more patients will reap the benefits of all types of additive manufacturing. And I'm very excited to be part of this transformative industry and even more excited to be part of this amazing group of women 3D printing. So thank you very much. And looking forward to connect with everyone.
Thank you. You actually have 1 minute and 30 seconds left to answer this wonderful Q&A. Any advice for another confused person on what steps to take next?
Is that for me?
Yeah, that's for you.
Sorry, what was the question?
Any advice for another confused person on what steps to take next?
Not overthink it.
Good one.
I think the other thing too that really helped me was reaching out to people in my network. Janet, for example, I was wanting to connect with other people in women 3D printing, and so I reached out, and now we're almost having bi-weekly calls, and I think that helps give confidence and direction for someone that knows and does this as well. So that was definitely very helpful to reach out to other people. Use your network, basically. I'm obsessed with LinkedIn, so you'll probably find me on there, and I think that's a great way to work on that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Natasha, for your story. It was super fascinating. Really excited to now introduce you to our next lightning round guest, Eliana Fu. Eliana Fu, do you mind turning on your camera and mic? While she does this, I'm sure you all know Eliana Fu from her amazing social media posts. Really glad that you can now be live with us today.
Hi, Janet. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for inviting me. Yeah, just call me Ellie. I'm working now at TRUMPF. I am industry manager for aerospace and medical. If you don't know TRUMPF, make sure you please pronounce the F at the end of the name. But it is a German laser manufacturer with almost 100 years of history in laser technology and machine tool for sheet metal processing. On the laser side that I report into, we do welding, cutting, marking, surface texturing, and 3D printing. So 3D printing that we have are laser powder bed machines. They're called the TruePrint. Everything in TRUMPF starts with the letter TRU. So it's a TruePrint 1000, 2000, 3000, and 5000. We also have laser DED. I'm very interested in all aspects of that. So my focus is aerospace and medical. On the aerospace side, I have been working mostly in aerospace like my whole life. I actually have background in material science. So I did my master's in PADT at Imperial College in London. You probably guessed from my accent that I'm coming from London, but now I live in the US. And I also spent 8 years at TimeMet, which is a titanium company here in Henderson, Nevada. I also worked in the traditional manufacturing world for Firth Rixson, and I also worked for TWI in the UK. I also then, about 6 years ago, I left Nevada to go to California to work at SpaceX. So I got well into the space industry. And I also, my last employer was Relativity Space. So there I was senior engineer for additive processes. So I wasn't just looking at laser powder bed fusion, I was looking at all kinds of different things. And I also worked on the supplier quality and materials side, because I'm still a materials person at heart. So I was very lucky to be introduced to women in 3D printing by the amazing Lindsey Zindroski, who was ambassador for Los Angeles at the time. But, you know, Los Angeles is such a huge area, so another pair of hands was required to help. So I gladly helped her with that. And now I am on my own in Las Vegas here. So I'm ambassador for the newly formed Las Vegas chapter. There's literally like very few people here, maybe just a Smile director, I think Meltio and Warby Parker, but I don't even know if they do 3D printing, to be fair. But anyway, I'm trying to get the Las Vegas chapter off the ground. So I know that lots of people come through here for meetings and conventions and conferences. CES is a big one. So please, when you come to Las Vegas, hit me up, yo, because that's how we create a community here. It's not really big on technology and manufacturing, as you can guess. Obviously, tourism is the main tourism and entertainment is the main industry here. But we can change that because we have the world's, so far, biggest 3D printed art sculpture right here at the Raiders Stadium, the Allegiant Raiders Stadium. And yeah, that's pretty cool. So if you come here, come and hit me up. And Janet, I think I ripped through that pretty quickly.
You did indeed. Well, while you have a minute left, do you want to do the introduction of Lindsey while she pulls herself up?
Yeah, sure. I would love to introduce my esteemed partner in crime, Lindsey. Thank you so much for introducing me to Women in 3D Printing, and now you can introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. You are always hard to follow, Eliana, because you're so funny and brilliant and interesting, and I'm so grateful to have met you through this amazing community. My name's Lindsey Zindroski. I'm the LA ambassador. I also cover the Orange County area, but we're much more active in the LA area for about 3 years now. I am this founder and CEO of SNL Creative. It is a boutique service bureau. We provide rapid manufacturing and additive manufacturing for consumer customers, new tech companies, entertainment, automotive, a variety of unique and interesting clients out of LA. A lot of my clients are local, and I think local community is incredibly powerful in that regard. So I get to work on a lot of interesting projects. I have polymer and plastics mainly. I have a little experience with metals, but mainly polyjet technology, FDM technology, Markforge, SLA. I have a wealth and knowledge of a lot of additive manufacturing technologies beyond what I have here in-house. We also do rapid manufacturing here. So I have RTV silicone molding, fiberglass molding. We do reproductions, full paint and fabrication shop. So we get to work on a lot of interesting things, turnkey things, but sometimes just supporting parts with the amazing technologies that we have here. So I got started in additive manufacturing from a desire to do product development, really, developing new products, and leveraging additive manufacturing for all the incredible use cases that are out there, and we could talk about all of those in depth, hopefully soon. And I just got hooked on it. It's an incredible opportunity to make a career, to be a lifelong learner, to continuously improve and grow, and be, take it as far as you want, get in depth as much as you want, and have it take your interests wherever they go. So I love the LA community. It is an incredible place for additive manufacturing. Our community is amazing. We have a lot of schools and academia here. Cal State University Long Beach, UC Irvine, UCLA, USC, all with manufacturing departments that include additive. A lot of the professors that teach at these schools have in-depth knowledge in specifics around additive manufacturing, from concrete printing to textile printing. So it's a great place there, and we have an active student community members. Entertainment, obviously there's all the entertainment companies, or a majority of the entertainment, all the big ones are here. So there's a lot of entertainment community, new tech startups. There's a ton of that here. It is like it's startup hub, I feel like, including a lot of aerospace startups, metal 3D printing startups, automotive EV startups. We have a ton of automotive companies here. JPL is here. We did a site tour there. We've been on site at a few of the community partners. So now we're getting back into meeting up and getting to network face to face. LA is a huge area, so I'm excited now to be bringing in a co-ambassador. I'll announce that in the next couple months, and we'll be working together to reach out to everybody and plan some great things. So if you have ideas, reach out to me. If you want us to, come to your area or you have an interest, please reach out to me. I'd love to collaborate.
Wow, Lindsey, sounds like there's so much going on in the LA region. Thanks so much for giving us a snapshot. I think everyone's jealous of your work with the entertainment industry because your website has tons of fun portfolio items. So everyone do check out SNL Creative.
Thank you.
We will now have Pam Waterman from Women in 3D Printing Phoenix join us. Pam, want to turn on your camera and mic?
Yeah.
Thank you, Lindsey. What's really exciting about Pam is we're also working on another Women in 3D Printing project in collaboration with Stratasys on the Girl Gang Garage, helping remodify an old Volvo car with a new, I think, EV body to be shown at the SEMA show. Anyways, give it up to Pam Waterman.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Janet. This is so exciting to be here. Hello, everybody. Coming from Phoenix, where it is, I think, only 105 today, which is like big excitement compared to our 118 last week. So I'm inside hanging out with our cool printing machines. So I'm another non-traditional entrance to this field, and I think that's one of the cool things about 3D printing. It's such a new field still, relatively, really only a little over 30 years old. Like, how many industries can you actually put a start time to? But that means that most people who are in this field came from somewhere else, and that makes it incredibly diverse and gives it a lot of power because you've got people from all different backgrounds and experiences and interest levels coming together with this common core about this cool thing called 3D printing. And then when you get into it, you find out that ASTM has decided we have 7 technologies, all of which come under that umbrella term of 3D printing. And so you get people who are involved in plastics and people involved in metals and people doing cool things with ceramics. So right there's kind of something for everyone. But my background is that I started out with a major in astronomy and radio astronomy. I have a master's in that. That led me into microwave engineering. And I worked as a manufacturing engineer for Raytheon, so back out on the East Coast. Went with some small companies and then took kind of a sidewards path because I was raising a family and taking care of my mom. And what I got into was technical writing, specifically for magazines. And that was an amazing experience, being exposed to tons and tons of topics. Lots of fast learning involved, but I got to meet and network with people, got to explore many different fields, one of which a lot was finite element analysis. So, got to use that background that I had. But then back in 1997, I was given the assignment to write an article about 3D printing, or at the time it was called rapid prototyping. And I remember asking my editor, what is that besides making something really quickly? And he pointed me to resources and said, dig into it, find out, you're going to really like it. So it was an eye-opener to see how things were being done. Even back then, medical applications fascinated me. I was talking to people who were repairing a damaged skull with 3D printed metal. I was talking to people who were starting to do aerospace qualified parts in different kinds of plastics. I was learning about full color printing with polyjet printers, and on from there. So as I went through years of writing articles and getting to go to trade shows, the more I realized that when I got back into a hands-on engineering job, which I knew I would be doing as some kind of re-internship, that was the field I wanted to be in. And so I got active on LinkedIn. I know Natasha mentioned that. That's really helpful. I went back to college. I was able to take a course on 3D printing and get my hands on a lot of different systems with different technologies. I took courses in material properties. I took coursework in SolidWorks. And all of that kind of came together. I was able to get an internship position at a community college 3D print lab, more hands-on experience, you know, how things break, how you fix them, how you clean them, how you design for better parts. And all that time I was networking. I was able to reconnect with this company here in Tempe, Arizona called PADT, Phoenix Analysis and Design Technologies, where I knew a few people, and the timing was right. They needed a 3D printing application engineer. So I've been here almost 3 years. I feel I'm living my dream. I'm excited every day about coming into work. And the biggest thing is because it's something different every day. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about a variety of our customers. We get to work in aerospace, like Eliana mentioned, whether it's an end part printed in metal, so it's a final end use part, or it's just something useful that's tooling for forming a part or jigs and fixtures for supporting it while you work on it. Sometimes that's like the unsung hero of what 3D printing can do for you. Then you also have these intricate parts that you just couldn't form in any other way. Consumer products is something our company gets involved in. Medical, and I think medical is probably my favorite application. We have these little 3D printed hearts at the Phoenix Children's Hospital that they use for medical modeling. And then lastly, Girl Gang Garage. If anybody wants to talk to me about how we're helping this all-female build team with a car that they've done everything old school and now they're going digital, we are having a grand time. So welcome everybody, and I'm happy to network.
Thanks so much, Pam, for sharing that. You have such a fantastic background. I'm sure everyone will want to get to know your variety of exposure to the different industries, so thank you. And talk to Pam about hashtag Tiger Team. All right. Well, if you guys didn't know, my first real woman in 3D printing experience was actually in Portland when I flew there. And then I was like, oh, I heard about this woman in 3D printing thing. Let me go there to their events and see if they have something. And then Kristin was hosting a happy hour. I'm like, oh, free drink sounds great. So came here, and actually that's how I got introduced to women in 3D printing more formally. So thanks, Kristin, for that. So I now leave it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Janet. That's really cool. I actually didn't know that was your first Women in 3D Printing event. So hi, I'm Kristen Mulherin. I'm the Portland ambassador, which is how I got my start in Women in 3D Printing a few years, 2-3 years ago. But now I'm also on the board of directors for Women in 3D Printing. So I work on the Type conference and all sorts of things. We're doing a career fair next week. If you haven't heard about it, there's a link when we get to the networking session. There's a link on the left-hand side that you can look at if you want to register for that career fair. We have some really awesome companies like Boeing and TRUMPF and several other companies that are going to be hiring. So join if you're interested in just learning more about, I guess, the industry. So as for myself, I wanted to kind of make this around a singular topic. And what I want to talk about is risk and the joys of taking risks. I've always been a risk taker, bungee jumping, hang gliding. I've lived in a lot of weird places. And the same is true of my professional career. And although I've made decisions along the way that I was unsure about, I look back at all of them as very positive experiences that have affected my happiness, my career, and my well-being as a whole. So I started off my career at a very safe place as a materials and processes engineer at Northrop Grumman. It was very pivotal in my career because it gave me a very strong foundation to build upon. But after a few years, I realized my passion really lied more in with startups. So after completing my MBA, I joined an advanced materials startup in LA. I was one of 3 people at the time, and it was awesome. We worked out of this like weird little studio apartment. It was awesome. We ultimately grew to a $15 million company by the time I left, which is something I'm like super proud of course. But then I got my opportunity to work in 3D printing. So I was really fortunate to be given the opportunity to join the senior leadership at LPW, which is now, it's been purchased by Carpenter Additive. So it's now Carpenter Additive. But I joined LPW out in the UK. After about a month, after I moved there, I went to my very first FormNext, and I immediately knew this was the industry I was going to be remain in for pretty much the long haul. And I still believe that. I can't imagine. It's such an awesome network and such an awesome community. I always refer to it, it's terrible. I always refer to the industry as very incestuous because we all know each other. And that's one of the things I love about it. Like we all know each other, and we all have stories to share, and it's very much a family. You know, I look at AMUG and Rapid and FormX very much as like family reunions. So anyways, since then I've worked several different companies in the AM space. I look at the AM space as having essentially 5 primary pieces. You have the machine OEMs, you have the materials side of things, you have software, you have, you know, the R&D and academia, which I think sometimes people leave out, but is obviously very important. And then you have the service bureaus. So up until joining Dyndrite, I had touched 4 of the 5 of those. You know, I worked at HP, where I worked on both the Metaljet and the MJF printers. I worked at LPW, obviously, for materials. And the other 2, R&D and service bureaus, I worked pretty extensively with service bureaus, especially in my consulting company, AM3, which I had for 2.5 years. And I still don't do nonprofit stuff through it. And then I've also worked across all the materials. So I've worked on metals, plastics, and ceramics, which is ironic because my bachelor's degree is actually in ceramic engineering, which most people have never heard of. It's not throwing pots. It's actually my school, they split up material science into ceramics and metals. But it's why I got my master's degree, or not really. It's why I had to get my master's degree, to show that I was an actual engineer and not a pottery student. So now I see Dyndrite essentially as the final frontier. I feel like I'm rounding out within the industry, and it's incredibly satisfying to have that view of the entire ecosystem. I genuinely believe I couldn't be happier to find this, you know, as the, you know, the final rounding out of my career. Because I believe really truly that software is what drives the transition, is going to drive the transition of the industry to become accepted as a mainstream production technology. Hardware, Sam O'Leary from SLM said a month ago at our DEC or DDC conference that hardware is currently outpacing the software. And in what world does that make any sense? So I'm really proud and I'm really excited to be part of a company that's really going to be building the foundation for software to finally catch up to hardware. So with all that said, you know, all these things are a lot of risks. And I just want to really give to the rest of you, like, the courage to truly follow your heart and make those leaps. If you have a risk that you are afraid to do, I don't regret one single one that I did. Even though there were times where it was difficult and I was unsure, do it. So if you want to talk about that, reach out to me in the networking session or via LinkedIn. Cool.
Wow, thank you, Kristin. You have such a fantastic background and so inspiring and wonderful words of wisdom. So we really appreciate you being part of the community.
Thanks, Janet.
We're now going to have the dynamic duo from Women in 3D Printing Seattle, Bethany Weeks from Boeing and Amrita Basu. Please join. Awesome. You're all set.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Summer Social West Coast Chapter Women in 3D Printing event. My name is Amrita Basu, and I'm one of the co-hosts of Women in 3D Printing Seattle with my awesome co-host, Bethany Weeks here. I'll mention a little bit about me super briefly before handing the floor over to her. So I am originally from India. I moved to the United States to pursue my PhD in polymer chemistry, which is where I had my first introduction to 3D printing in general. I'm also like very early in my career. I only stopped being a student like 6 months back. So if any one of you, you're looking for employment, navigating these early career challenges, decisions, I will be very happy to talk to you about whatever and help you if I can. Shout out to the Women in 3D Printing Career Fair event. I wish it happened last year as well, but better late than never. For my PhD, where I actually work with a lot of 3D printers, I worked on the material development side of things. As Kristin mentioned, like just a few minutes back, like I think R&D in this frontier is super important because it's such a new and evolving field. Some of the things that I worked on was like advancing 3D printing techniques, like doing multi-material printing within like a resin tank, or doing water-based resins, which are, you know, reducing toxicity and health hazards, environmental hazards. Building biomaterials, because I mean, yes, medical implants are like medical devices are super important. You need materials for them. Currently, I am a senior scientist at this startup company called UbiQD. I currently don't actually work with 3D printing a whole lot, but I can still, I carried my polymer chemistry background with them. We're making nanomaterials and putting them in windows and greenhouse films to harness solar energy to make electricity and to improve like crop growth, like yields better. I'm very glad to be here today. Looking forward to network with everyone, and I'll let Bethany talk about her experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Amrita. All right. So I'm Bethany Weeks. Obviously, I'm a co-host of the Seattle chapter with Amrita. I also, like all the others, have a windy path to here, which, if you talk to pretty much anybody, like very few people are like 18 and be like, I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. So, but I wasn't quite sure how to encapsulate all that in like 5 minutes. So I was going to just rep Seattle because so this last year, we took advantage of the virtual environment that everybody found themselves in to provide our members with educational presentations. So we had events where University of Washington professors came on and talked about the research that their 3D printing students have done and are working on. We had a local company, Studio Slip Rabbit, Tamia came on and talked to us about 3D printed ceramics and how she uses that technology to create beautiful, beautiful ceramic pottery. And we also would have members come on and walk us through projects that they've accomplished that they're particularly proud of. Our next event in July, I'm actually going to teach everybody how to use the computer modeling software Mesh Mixer. It's my go-to modeling program when it comes to making non-engineering, like square-shaped parts for 3D printing. So you're welcome to come join us. These events have opened up the type of people that we can have come join us. It's made things more accessible, and it's been successful enough that as COVID decreases in its risk factor, we're actually going to keep adding these virtual presentations into our rotation. So we'll still have, the hangout, talk 3DP at restaurants and, tour local companies, but we'll also occasionally continue to have these virtual presentations because I really think that they help open up the audience for more really cool 3D printing information that's out there. If you guys are interested in hearing more about the Seattle chapter, or if you want to hear about my long journey to become an R&D additive manufacturing engineer, or even what I've done as an R&D additive manufacturing engineer, come hang out with Amrita and I at the Seattle chapter table after this. So, amazing. Thank you. You two have such fantastic backgrounds. Thank you so much for contributing so much, even during COVID, and educating all of us and keeping us up to date with what's going on. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen.
So the last but not least, woman in 3D printing leader that we'd like to introduce is Melanie Lange. Feel free to turn on your camera and mic. Actually, the first time I met Melanie Lange, she didn't know we met, but she was speaking on the wonderful stage at a conference and is like one of the few female CEOs in a sea of other folks talking about additive manufacturing and talking about so many amazing technical things. Hello, dog. So give it up to Melanie Lange.
Thank you so much, Janet. Hi, everybody. I'm Melanie Lange. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FormAlloy. We design and manufacture directed energy deposition systems, and reached out to Nora Torre, the founder of Women in 3D Printing, a few years ago to see if we could get a chapter started in San Diego. So we had a good year and a half or so of events before everything shut down. And I'm excited to announce that next month we will have our first in-person meeting again in quite some time, and it'll be hosted at General Atomics. We are doing a big lunch and learn and a tour. They just opened up their Center of Excellence for Additive Manufacturing, so I'm super excited to go see it, and I'm sure the SoCal community will be equally as excited. So The link just now went live. So it is on Eventbrite. If you search for Women in 3D Printing San Diego, you should be able to find it. I'll also be posting it to my LinkedIn page and start advertising it right after this event. So it'll be easy for you to go on and register. If you're planning on going, the tickets are limited because they have limited space for guests right now. But we do have 40 seats available for that event next month on July 30th. I also want to give a shout out to Jenna in some of the presentations, and also Steve Fournier. So I think they're both at this event. So feel free to say hi to them and thank you. And hopefully we'll get to meet you in person. A little bit about my journey into additive manufacturing is that I started as an aerospace engineer. So I spent about the first 15 years of my career as an aerospace engineer and had somewhat limited exposure to additive manufacturing. I saw it a little bit, but it wasn't my primary responsibility. And I was doing 3D printing more as a hobbyist. And I kept on being in situations, either proposing new work or existing programs, where one of the biggest challenges was getting the right parts to the right place at the right time. And that's sort of when my worlds intersected from my hobbyist life as a 3D printing practitioner to my work and career life as, you know, what we can do with this technology and make it very powerful. So that way you can have things on demand when you need it. So that's really how it started for me, was really from an aerospace Department of Defense perspective to get the right parts to the right place at the right time. And then co-founded FormAlloy in 2016, and we've been going at it ever since. So you'll find our machines at aerospace customers, research institutes. We do work in the automotive and energy space, and also the consumer goods space. And we also do services in-house. So, you know, one of the challenges with DED is that there's not a lot of service providers available like there are for other technologies, such as binder jetting and powder bed. So we do services in-house as well for our customers. But that's really how, you know, my journey started, from engineer to founding a company. And it's certainly been a wild ride, but also very exciting and very rewarding, because we're making a difference and we're changing the availability of technology. And as we like to say at FormAlloy, we are making the impossible possible. So if you have any questions on the technology, the San Diego chapter, or just entrepreneurship in general, you know, how to get a company off the ground, please feel free and stop by and say hello. If we don't get a chance to meet during this event, I'm very active on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a message and we can set up some one-on-one time. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining. And I hope to see you all in person next month at General Atomics.
That was fantastic. And that's such an amazing event, and company so forward thinking, allowing people to come visit in person already. You pulling it off, Melanie.
Yeah, it's General Atomics. They rock. Thank you.
Amazing. We're also going to have an impromptu welcoming of Nora Torre, the founder of Women in 3D Printing. Feel free to turn on your camera and mic. And also everyone else that participated as a speaker today, feel free to turn on your camera and mic as a final group hello and goodbye before we all enter the virtual networking. Nora, want to give your special message to the team?
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't have really a special message except thank you. It's been amazing to have you all being ambassadors and to see you all here today. And I'm sorry, I have my son with me who is finishing his birthday cake from yesterday, and it's not pretty. So he's also a little bit excited from all the sugar right now. So anyhow, you're going to have a little bit of background noise here. But I wanted just to say thank you to all of you for staying engaged during COVID as well. We've all had like a year and a half that were difficult, and yet you all stay engaged, continued communicating with the community, growing the community. So some of you also did some hard work on type. You know who you are. So thank you for making all of this happening and continuing being part of this community, in addition to being badass in your jobs, as you could all tell today. So thank you for this overview, sharing about your communities. And again, Thank you so much for all the work you're doing for women in 3D printing. It means a lot. And again, not just to me, because that doesn't mean like, you know, I'm just one person here who just ended up creating a website. And now like the community is really down to like what our ambassadors are doing every day with the community. And this is you. So thank you, and thank you.
Nora, it wouldn't have been possible without you.
Sorry, asking for more cake now, I guess.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. If you want to meet any of our amazing women in 3D printing leaders, feel free to double click their table. There is tile view and floor view. So click on the floor view to make sure that you can drag and drop the floor. Double click a table on the first floor and then turn on your camera and mic to say hello. If you feel a little bit camera shy, no worries. Feel free to use the chat. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the floor. Bye.